Hey everyone, thanks for joining the Asana Basics webinar. My name is Shira and I'm on the customer education team here at Asana. Let's dive right in and go over some housekeeping. Today's session is an introduction to Asana. We'll be talking about the fundamentals of how to create, organize, and manage work in Asana. Throughout the training today, I'll be navigating between my slides here and the training space where I'll be demonstrating the features we talk about. You can just watch or feel free to follow along in your own Asana workspace in a separate browser window. Today's training will be an hour long, and a recording of the content will be sent to you afterwards, so keep an eye out for an email from us about 24 hours after the session. Because of the size of our group, your microphones are muted, but we still welcome questions. So please go ahead and write your questions in the Zoom Q&A box, and my colleague will be here to answer your questions throughout the session. You'll also be able to see the answers to other people's questions after they're answered. There may also be time during the training today where I'll ask for input from the group. So in those cases, feel free to use the Zoom chat to communicate with us and with the entire group. A quick note before we dive in. I want to just thank you all for setting aside an hour of your day today to join us on this webinar, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of our time together. So if you'd like, feel free to take a minute and set your environment up for a distraction-free environment. Maybe you want to set that cell phone to airplane mode or close all those extra windows you may have in your tab. I know I usually have about 100 open at a time. So I'll give everyone just a minute to do that and get yourselves all settled. Great. So I want to start by posing a question to the group. Let's think about what are some of the tools that you and your team are currently using to manage your work. How are you keeping track of everything that you have to do, your team has to do, and how are you staying aware of the work that your team is getting done? Let's take a few minutes, and I'd love for people to share a few thoughts in the chat. What are some of the tools that you're currently using to keep track and communicate about work? Great, thanks for sharing. These tools certainly do work. We're all getting a lot of things done each day, but they may also create some common pain points. Perhaps about the work on your own to-do list, like did I forget anything? Where do I start? When is everything due? Or even how do I get more clarity on this work? Or maybe it's causing some pain points around the work that you're waiting on from others, right? Did they see my request? Did that email get buried in a bunch of other ones? Are they aware of the deadline? How do I know if everything is on track? Which of these pain points resonates with you? Feel free to share in the chat which one really stands out, or +1 if one of these really is something that you experience on a regular basis. Awesome. Looks like a lot of these really resonate with us on the call. Today we'll be learning the basic features of Asana, but more importantly, I want to give you a holistic sense of how you and your team can manage work together in a way that solves for those pain points we just looked at. So what do I mean by managing work? Well, all the stuff that we need to do and stay organized and communicate about the projects we're working on. When we're managing work, we're usually going to be in one of these 3 phases. The first one, capture, which is the recording of the work that needs to get done by yourself and others. Organize, or the planning and prioritizing of the work in advance of actually executing it. And tracking the work, so actually doing the work and communicating along the way to ask questions and stay up to date on the work that's happening. This cycle is a cycle that repeats, and as new work arises from what us and other people are doing. So today our learning objectives is that by the end of this training, you will be able to capture work in Asana using projects and tasks. You'll learn how to organize your work using My Tasks. We'll talk about tracking your work using your Asana inbox, and talk about how you can communicate effectively with your teammates every step of the way. So let's start by really understanding where Asana fits in the context of some of the other tools you're already using. Most teams have a tool for creating and managing content. Maybe you're using Dropbox, Google Drive. Give me a +1 in the chat if you're already using one of these tools to create and manage content. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. You may also have a tool for messaging and communicating about that content. Gmail, Slack, Outlook. Give me a +1 if one of these is something that you and your team currently uses to communicate about that work. Awesome. So where Asana fits in is really the link between these two, between the content and the communication, and it helps coordinate the work of clarifying and tracking who's doing what by when. And in fact, Asana can actually streamline and reduce the volume of work happening in some of these other channels. All right, so before we dive in, let's take a look at how information is organized in Asana. At the top, you have your organization, which connects all the employees at your company using Asana in a single space based on your company's email domain. Within the organization, you and your colleagues can split into teams to collaborate on projects and tasks. And projects are going to be the bodies of work that live within a team. Those are then composed of tasks, subtasks, and comments. As an example, let's say we have the Phoenix Corporation organization at the top, and we have two teams at the Phoenix Corp working in Asana, the events team and the design team. Both part of the same organization, but they will create and manage projects within their own teams. Projects are a great starting place for capturing work, and in a moment, we're actually going to walk through the steps that the events team is going to take to plan their upcoming company celebration. So let's head over to Asana and see what this looks like in practice. So first, let's get oriented. Remember that the top level is your organization, and you can always see what organization you're logged into by clicking on your avatar in the top right-hand corner, and you can see that I'm logged in to the Phoenix Corporation organization. I will find the teams that I'm a part of in the left-hand sidebar over here. You can see teams, and I can click into any of these teams to expand it to see the projects that live within those teams. From here, I can also navigate up to my tasks and my inbox, which are really important places that you'll use to organize your work, and we'll cover those a little bit later in today's session. So let's take a look at how we would create a project to capture all that work and those action items for that upcoming company celebration. If you're following along in your own Asana workspace, feel free to do this with me. So from the home screen here, I'm going to head up to my quick add orange plus button here in the top right hand corner and choose project. You can either create a blank project, or I encourage you to explore our template library. We have so many ready-made templates to go for different use cases and team types. So if you're not sure how to get started on a particular project, this is definitely worth a stop. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just create a blank project. I'll start by giving this project a really clear name. So we'll say 2020 Company Celebration. I'll then choose what team I want this project to live in. For now, I'm going to keep it in the general staff team so everyone can access it and see how the project is progressing. I can then set the privacy level, so I'll keep it public to team, but know this is something you can always go back and change later. Next, I have an option to select what I want my default view to be for the project. Again, this is something you can change later. For now, I'll just stick to our list view. Now I have an option for what do I want to do first. I can get started by just creating those tasks and action steps, or if I'd like to take a few moments to start with a project overview, I can set key context, set project roles, and attach any key resources. Let's start by just adding some tasks to our project. And fantastic. All right, so we've got our newly created company project to plan the celebration. And so I know that this project is something I'm going to be in a lot over the next few weeks. So I want to be able to navigate it navigate to it very easily. So I'm going to click on the star button right up here to add it to my favorites. So once I've clicked that, you'll see that that project now pops up here in my favorites list, so I can easily navigate to it as soon as I log into Asana. All right, so let's start by adding our teammates to the project. So I want to make sure that everyone who's going to be helping me plan this celebration is in the project. So I'm going to hit this share button and just start to type in the names of the colleagues who will be helping me plan this project. So maybe I'm going to add Jamie, Jason, and Michelle. All right. I'm also going to, while I'm here, unselect this box that says notify them when tasks are added. We're going to be doing a lot of brainstorming here, and I don't want to overflood them with notifications every time I add a task. So I'm going to take that off before I send out those invitations. You can see now my member list for this project has grown, and they are in that project. All right, now let's start capturing all the work related to this event. I can treat a blank project much like a blank Word doc or spreadsheet, except that in Asana, each line is a task, which is an actionable piece of work related to the project. I can add tasks just by hitting the return key here, or I can also use this plus add task button right at the top. So let's brainstorm some things that might need to happen for planning a company celebration. Absolutely, I'm going to want to book a venue. I may also need to order food. I think we're going to go with barbecue. Delicious. Need to send out some invitations. And maybe I'm going to review vendors on Yelp. All right, so our action items are coming together. Maybe one more that just came to mind. I want to submit a feedback survey after the event. Okay, so once I have my list going, I might want to break them up into related sections. So I can add a section from my drop-down option here by clicking Add Section, or I can also use the plus Add Section button here. So let's go ahead and use sections to organize our tasks by time frame. So I'll add a section for tasks that are due 4 weeks out, maybe tasks that are due 2 weeks out, tasks that are due day of the event, and then maybe a section for post-event. Okay. So if you need to delete a section, you can always do so from the 3 dots here to rename or delete. Now that I have my section set, what I can do is drag each task and drop it into the appropriate section. So booking a venue, for example, something I definitely want to do early on. Order buffet, maybe 2 weeks out, send out invitations, and review vendors on Yelp, and submitting that feedback survey are things that are going to happen after the event. You can also collapse or expand individual sections. So maybe you want to collapse all those extra sections so you're just really focused in on the things that you need to do today. Fantastic. So a great task is always going to answer the question, who's doing what by when? So for each of these tasks, I'm going to give it an assignee and a due date. If you're in your own Asana space, go ahead and play around with adding an assignee and due dates to tasks. So I can click here. I'm gonna have Jamie send out invitations by the 7th. You can see here I can go ahead and add all my different assignees and the due dates. Let's say here. All right, great. And maybe I even want to add some more context and details to some of these tasks. I can do that by clicking towards the right of the task name which will open up the task detail pane. So you can see here we're in the task for book a venue. It's assigned to Carly with a deadline. And below that area, I have a description box where I can include any relevant information that's needed to complete this task. So for example, for booking a venue, I may want to add some notes about how many people we need to accommodate and maybe that I'm hoping for an outdoor space. So I might say something like looking to hold 200 people, would love something outdoors. I can even add attachments to this task. Like let's say you have an inspiration photo, and once you attach that, it will appear in the comments thread below. So I've got an outdoor venue image here that I saw online. I love how it looks, would love to do something similar like this for the company celebrations. I'm going to attach that to this task, and you can see here the preview has populated below. Great. So the comment section here in a task is where you will have that communication with your teammates about work relating to that task. So here I can add collaborators by either @mentioning them. So let's say I want to get Michelle's opinion on this. I can @mention Michelle, and you'll see the pop-up list. So I can choose her. Michelle, what do you think? Once I add that comment, you'll see she's automatically added as a collaborator. I can also just add other collaborators by typing in their names here. Think about adding collaborators as CCing someone on an email. So either someone who you want to just kind of loop them into the conversation and let them know what's happening, or you actually want their input. And when people are added as collaborators, they'll get those inbox notifications about the work and the communication that's happening on this task. So great, if you're in your own Asana space and you're playing around, go ahead and add a description, add a photo to a task, and maybe play around with adding some collaborators. So I'll give everyone a second to do that. Great. So some tasks are going to be big enough that it's actually helpful to break them into smaller steps. And in this case, you can use subtasks. Add subtasks using the branching icon at the top of the task, or with the keyboard shortcut Tab S, or even just click on the plus add subtask here. In this case, some things we may need to do for subtask are research venues. Maybe we're going to need to compare quotes, and finally sign a contract. Each of these subtasks can then have its own due date and assignee as well. So since I'm in charge of taking care of booking the venue, I'm just going to assign myself all of these subtasks. But if I wanted to bring someone else to, if I needed to have my supervisor, for example, actually sign the contract, I could assign that to someone else. Great, so I can actually see how many subtasks a task has by glancing at the main list view here, and you'll see the number next to that branching icon. So booking a venue has 3 subtasks, and I can click into this drop-down arrow to actually expand and see all those subtasks straight from my list view. So oftentimes there may be additional information we want to add to all tasks in a project, for example, a priority level or a status. We can easily add and view additional context with something called custom fields. You can think of custom fields similar to columns in a spreadsheet. If you have the basic version of Asana, you'll have a single custom field for priority already built in. And if you're on the premium version or above, you'll have the option to create your own custom fields. You can add, view, and edit custom fields from the Customize tab in the top right-hand corner of your project. So let's go ahead and add some here. So from this field, I'm going to click Add Custom Field, and let's add one for priority. So first I'm going to add in the title of the field, and then I can select the field type. For this one, I'm going to stick to single select, and then I can add what my options will be. So we'll do high priority, medium priority, and low priority. I can then customize what color I want for each of these custom fields, which is always fun, or you can create some sort of system around your colors here. And then I have a few additional options here to add it to the custom field library for my organization, so I can come back and reuse this field. And if you're on the business or above, you have some additional custom options for your custom field. So we'll go ahead and create this custom field. Once we've done that, we now see it has appeared on our project. So we can go ahead and select what priority level each of these tasks is, and I can even sort by priority level, move this custom field around if I want to change the order, and even toggle it on or off from the main view. So before we move on, I want to show you a few really cool time-saving tips that you can apply to projects and tasks. One of my favorites is the ability to update or change multiple tasks at once using the multi-selecting feature. To multi-select, click on the first task that you want to select and go ahead and hold down your Shift key. Then you can click on the last task that you want to select. From here you can see I have 3 tasks now highlighted, and I can take a bulk action here. So if I want to, I can assign all of those highlighted tasks to the same person, give them all the same due date, or change the custom field to be the same as well. You can also move all 3 items together if you wanted to bump them down into a different section. You can also choose from a range of additional bulk task options from the multi-select toolbar that will appear at the bottom of your screen. Now let's say that you have a task that multiple people on the team are going to need to complete. For example, submitting our feedback survey after the event. Instead of wasting time copying and pasting that same task and title over and over again, we can assign copies. So to do so, you're going to click into the task detail pane and make sure that before you make any copies, the task has all the relevant information that you want. So the due date, if you have any information that needs to go in the description, you'll want to make sure that it's there as well. Once you're ready, click into the assignee field right here and choose Assign Duplicate Tasks. Then you can type in the name of all the people that you would like to complete that task. You can even type in the name of a whole team, and this task will be duplicated for every person in that team. Great, so you can see here we've assigned 12 copies, and those will be generated and populated into my project right below here. Awesome. So another time-saving tip I want to tell you about is, let's say you have a task that needs to be repeated on a regular cadence. For example, maybe one thing I'm going to do for this event is check the RSVPs, and I want to do that every 4 weeks. So one thing I can do first is make that task, check RSVPs. As you can see here, we're in the task detail pane, and I want to make it a recurring task. So from the due date field here, I'm going to open up the calendar and choose set to repeat. And then I can choose from a schedule as far as what cadence I want that to happen. So let's say I'm first going to check these on Friday, and then I want that to happen every Friday, so it's set to repeat once a week. You'll see that this is a recurring task based on that little arrow circle icon by the date. Awesome. All right, so our project is looking great. Let's take a quick look at the different ways that we can view it. So below the project title up here are your different project tabs, and the first 4 are going to be your project views. We're going to dive into these more in our advanced training, so definitely join us for that if you haven't been yet. But let's jump into them real quickly here. So the board view will look familiar to anyone who's used Kanban boards, and it's really great for work that moves through stages. So you can see here that my sections have turned into columns, my tasks have turned into these tiles, and then these can be dragged and dropped into different sections. We can also view our project on a timeline. If you have the premium version on Asana, you can see my tasks are laid out on a horizontal timeline here, or you can view work on the calendar board view if you have the premium version of Asana. This board view is just kind of dependent on what works best for you and your team. And if you prefer one of these over the other, you can always head over here to the top three dots to save that as a default. All right, so before we move on, I'm gonna pause for just a second and ask what questions you have about capturing work using Asana projects and tasks, and feel free to send those into the Zoom Q&A so my colleague on the line can answer those for you. Fantastic. So we've been talking a lot about capturing work using projects and tasks. And I want to take a moment to summarize some of the ways that we're communicating with teammates in the process. All of these basic actions we're taking, assigning tasks, adding due dates, updating fields, these are all implicit ways of communicating what's happening with work that we might have previously had to spell out in an email or a message. And more directly, adding those descriptions, attachments, and comments, and even your collaborators really allows us to communicate with teammates in the context of the work itself so that everything is tied to a single focused conversation about that action item. So back to the three phases of managing work. We've talked about capturing work using projects and tasks. Let's now talk about the second phase, organize. So far, we've really been focused on a single project, that company celebration, but all of us are probably working on multiple projects at a given time and have tasks scattered across all of them. Give me that thumbs up in Zoom or the raised hand if your to-do list is just out of control, right? Mine too. Your My Tasks is going to be your one-stop shop to view and organize all the tasks assigned to you across any project in Asana. And this is the place that really helps you answer the question, what do I need to do and by when? So now that we've all had the experience of being in the middle of working on a project, right, and suddenly you remember that thing you have to do. So let's see how you can capture a one-off to-do item from anywhere in Asana. So I'm here, I'm working on my company celebration project, and all of a sudden I remember that I have to share an agenda with the team. So I can head back up to that handy quick add orange button here and click task. And you can see here that that task will default to me as the assignee. From here, I can set that action item, so share agenda with team. I can give it a due date. I want to do this by the end of the day today, and I can link it to a project if needed. So I'm going to go ahead and create that task, and that will populate in my personal to-do list called My Tasks, which we'll look at shortly. So take a second, if you're in your own Asana space, go ahead and capture a task for yourself for something that you need to do after the training today. So let's navigate to your My Tasks. You're going to do that from the upper left-hand corner. Everything in your My Tasks is by default assigned to you. You can capture new tasks directly within My Tasks by adding a new line or choosing the plus add task blue button in the top left. It's important to know that all tasks you create from your My Tasks page are private. So they're only visible to you unless you add them to a project that other people have visibility to, or if you were to add collaborators to the tasks. All new tasks will land in a recently assigned section. These are tasks that you haven't yet prioritized, so you can think of them kind of like unread emails. There are a few options you have for organizing your My Tasks, so feel free to follow along as I show you some options. You may choose to do a simple sort by due date so that you can get a list of all of your tasks in chronological order, or you could sort them by project to group tasks together for what is related to the same project. You also have an option to create your own sections in your My Tasks. So for example, let's say you want to create some sections to organize your tasks by priority. You may add a new section for low priority, medium priority, and high priority. And you can add new sections from this drop-down arrow here in the top left. So I'll go ahead and add a section for high priority. And then I can take this section and drag it below my recently assigned. And from there, I can take a look at what's in my recently assigned and drag and drop them into the appropriate section. So for example, sending out that agenda may be a high priority task. I'll add a second section for medium priority. And again, I can drag and drop those recently assigned tasks into the appropriate section. You can even customize your My Task by automating the movement of tasks through sections. For example, if I want tasks with an upcoming due date to move to my high priority section, I can create a rule from the Customize button in the top right. So I will use a built-in rule for My Task, which is when a due date is approaching, I want to move it to a certain section. So I can select the time frame that I'm looking for. So let's say a day before any due date comes up, I want to automatically move that task to my high priority section. If you're on the business plan, you'll have some additional options to customize your rules in My Tasks. Then, once you have your rules prioritized, you can collapse other sections so that you're just focused on your tasks for that day. When organizing your My Tasks, think about how you get into your workflow and customize the space to fit the organizational strategy that works best for you. Now, just like projects, you can also switch your My Tasks view between list view, like we have here, or you can set your My Tasks to be organized on the board view or the calendar view. My Tasks will automatically save your sort, filter, and view preferences for the next time you head to My Tasks. From My Tasks, we can also open the detail of any task by clicking to the right of the task name. From here, straight from My Task, I can add comments, ask questions, renegotiate the due date without having to navigate to the actual project. Once the task is complete, I can check it off straight from my Tasks. So I'll pause there. What questions do you have about My Tasks before moving on? Feel free to drop them into the Zoom Q&A, and the facilitator will answer your questions. So to recap, communicating with teammates directly from your My Tasks by asking a clarifying question, changing or renegotiating a due date, or even completing tasks straight from there as well. As you're capturing, organizing, and completing that work and moving it forward, so are your teammates. And your inbox is really where you can stay up to date on the work that's happening around you. And this is where you will track all that work. So one of the major pain points about using email to manage work is that everything you need to do and everything you need to know is mixed together and can get buried inside long email threads. I'm sure, give me a +1 in that chat if you've ever seen one of those email threads that just goes on and on and on, right? Those are super, super stressful. In Asana, everything you need to do is going to live in your My Tasks, where everything you need to know is going to be in your inbox. So you'll want to take one of 3 actions on every notification in your inbox. You either want to archive it after you've seen it, you've viewed it, you don't need it anymore, you can archive it.
You may want to respond in archive if someone is asking for your input or needs a resource. Or you may want to capture work. So, for notifications that are going to require a little bit more time, you need to set aside some time to really dig deep. I'll show you how to capture that work and then archive the notification. And in general, in your inbox, you should feel free to unfollow any notifications or projects that you don't need to continue receiving so that you really utilize that inbox to the best of its ability. So let's see what this looks like in Asana. So go ahead and navigate to your inbox from the upper left-hand corner here. And think of your inbox as a news feed or running record of all the activity and conversation that has taken place on work that you're involved in. You can click into any of these notifications to see additional details here. So you can see here, I can now open up this notification, view those details right here on the right-hand side. Some notifications is kind of just an FYI, great, I need to know that. You can go ahead and archive it. In other cases, again, someone might have asked you a question or commented on a task, and you can respond directly at that task without having to navigate to the project itself, right? So I can add a comment here, add that comment, and then I can archive the notification. Sometimes a like is all you need to respond and let people know that you've seen it, you've acknowledged it. So maybe for one of these inbox notifications, it doesn't require any active response from me, but I just want to let them know that I've seen it. So I'm going to like it and then archive the notification. You can always access archived notifications up here, so don't worry, it's not gone, you haven't lost it. If you need to go back and revisit something, you can head up to that tab here. So again, the last thing you may want to do in your inbox is sometimes a notification is going to prompt you to capture new work, right? If it's something you just can't respond to in that moment, or you need to do a little bit more work, you can create a follow-up task for yourself. So you can see this option here, this little circle check with the plus is going to prompt me to create a follow-up task. So this is automatically assigned to me. It is linking that other task and detailed information so that I can easily get back to it. I can give it a deadline. I want to review that by the end of the week, and I'm going to create that task. That will now land in your My Tasks, so it's there with that rest of your to-do list as something that you need to take action on. And here's where the cycle really comes full circle. So as we track work that's moving forward, new work is going to be created and captured. Finally, in your inbox, I'll point out that you can also view a subset of your inbox notifications using these filters up here. So you can check out things that have been assigned to you, where you've been mentioned, and assigned by me. So if go on vacation and you come back one morning and you've got a bunch of inbox notifications, you can start with the assigned to me just to make sure that you are focusing your priority on the stuff that directly involves you.
As you can see, your inbox is your central place for staying up to date on work you're involved in. But we often hear from new Asanas that the number of inbox notifications can feel a bit overwhelming and they're not quite sure how to manage them. Well, fear not, you can manage what notifications you receive from your profile settings by clicking on your avatar in the top right corner and choosing My Settings. Go ahead and click on the Notifications tab, and from here you can customize what notifications you get to your email, if any, but you can also scroll down to the bottom and manage your project-specific notifications. So here you can set defaults for any future project you are a member of. For example, maybe you don't want to get default
notified for every single task, and maybe not even messages. You just want the default to be status updates, and you can go ahead and add yourself to messages later. Straight from here in your profile settings, you can also click this tab, Manage Individual Projects, and you'll see the full list of all the projects you are a member of and can customize the setting from here without having to go into each project. So as you can see, I've got tasks added for a lot of these. That may be clogging up my inbox, and I don't need all of these. So I'll go ahead and customize what notifications I want to receive from each project. Customizing your notifications can really help reduce noise in your inbox so that you're only processing what's most important and keep you up to date.
All right. So I'll take a moment there, and if you have any questions on your inbox, feel free to send them into the Zoom Q&A. So communication between teammates is really where the magic happens in Asana. Your inbox is a single centralized place to communicate about work in a way that's directly aligned to the actual work and not buried or muddled with action items and irrelevant conversations. When you're tracking work from your inbox, remember that you might want to respond to updates, share progress, or capture new work for yourself that arises as old work gets completed. So, as you engage in this rhythm of managing individual work, you'll flow between these three main spaces: your projects, your My Tasks, and your inbox in Asana. Before we wrap up, I want to just pause one more time and give people a chance to throw in any other questions they have in the Zoom Q&A. So let's talk about where to go to from here. So strongly recommend setting up integrations between Asana and your favorite tools. And definitely check out asana.com/apps to see all the available integrations. For example, it's super easy to capture tasks from a lot of tools you're probably already using. You can easily turn emails into tasks with the Gmail and Outlook integrations, and those attachments will even transfer over into the task. Another big one I recommend is the Slack integration, which makes it really easy to convert those messages in Slack to tasks in Asana. Also, don't forget to download the Asana mobile app, which makes it really seamless and easy to capture tasks on the go, check those inbox notifications. No more writing things in notes or reminder apps. Just keep it all in one place. You can even, with the app, capture a task by voice recognition. And lastly, keep learning. We hope that you found today's training useful. We have so many avenues for you to continue your Asana education. The Asana Guide is a great place to go for answers to your questions, for anything that you can think of about how Asana works and the features that you're seeing in your Asana account. As a follow-up on today's training, consider joining us for another Asana webinar. We have the Asana Advanced webinar where we'll dive into more advanced features for managing projects and tracking that work. And if you are ready to dive even deeper into specific topics, if you really like that self-paced learning, I highly recommend checking out our Asana Academy. Last but not least, feel free to join other Asana enthusiasts and certified pros in the community forum to learn about product updates and strategize around specific use cases. Finally, before you go today, I would love if you could take 2 minutes to let us know what you thought of today's training. We read all of your responses and definitely use them to continuously improve our offerings. I want to thank you so much for spending an hour of your day with us today. My colleague on the line will continue answering questions via the Zoom Q&A until the end of the hour. Thanks again.